Hi everyone, I am Arian Uttoma and I am the activity lead of the second component of the Next Generation Agricultural Extension Project. So activity 2 is the first step of our in-country data collection. First and foremost, the objective of activity 2 is to provide the context of the study and a snapshot of the people, the farmers, and the families living in Northwest Cambodia. Who lives in the village? Who do they live with? What do they do? We aim to capture the diversity of livelihood strategies around the farm and beyond the farm and the village itself. That is to say that the data collected in activity 2 shall give us a comprehensive baseline understanding of the lives of smallholder farmers and their family in the area. We want to identify the variation of production and farming systems across these diverse landscapes in Northwest Cambodia. And we would also like to understand the changing importance of agriculture in the context of diversifying household livelihood strategies in the regions. And we argue that these insights are crucial to understand the relational aspects of agriculture practice and extension so that we could provide effective inputs for the series of the co-design interventions that would take place later on in the life of the project. And finally, methods-wise, we would like to have a full census of all the households in the village so we can generate a sampling frame for the other activities to take place. For example, we might want to consider adopting a quota sampling method when selecting informants for the case studies in our project. And to do so, we can then refer to the household census results so that we could selectively sample farmers with a particular household or farming or land characteristics. So activity 2 shall include two main data collection methods, a village mapping exercise and household census to be conducted across selected study sites in the 6 communes in Battambang and Pailin provinces. These selected study sites or villages will include highland villages where they grow cassava, fruit trees, livestock productions, and where rain-fed farms would make up the bulk of farming activities among the smallholder households in the areas. And we would also purposely selected a contrasting study sites, collection of study sites, and these would be villages in the lowland areas located near large water reservoir, whereby rice and vegetable growing are the primary agricultural practices. So within each of these communes, a village or two will be selected as a case study site. And the selection criteria of the village would include factors such as population size, age structure of the village, the presence of farmers association in the village, and so on. In total, we aim to collect data from approximately 2,100, 2,500 households across the selected villages with the intention of obtaining a detailed portraits of the geographic, socioeconomic, demographic, and agriculture characteristics across these diverse households and commune settings in Northwest Cambodia. And the data collection itself will be guided by the 4 key research questions that underpin activity 2. These are: what are the types and traits of smallholder households in the study area? What are the primary livelihood options across the different households and villages? And to what extent are migration and agriculture complement one another as part of the household livelihood diversification strategy? We want to know what are the needs, desires, and aspirations of different smallholder households. And finally, what are the broader sub-district or village level socio-ecological contexts and infrastructure that may work to hinder or enable smallholders households in Northwest Cambodia to thrive? The first step of the data collection methods in this activity is the village mapping exercise. And here the idea is to get a full and comparative and relational picture of each of the village that we'll be looking into. Why do farmers do what they do? How does living and farming in a particular locality shape farmers' decision? What are the social fabrics of life in a particular village? How is the village, the people and the families living in these villages connected perhaps through trade, schooling, and migration to the broader networks of people in the surrounding village, the nearby town and cities and beyond? And why in particular answering these kind of questions can help explain the different patterns of outcomes of agricultural practice and extension in the region. The first step to answer these sets of questions is to conduct the village mapping exercise. What's there in the village? What's not there? What is the village like? What do the village needs? And this exercise would involve primarily interviews with the village chief and key informants in the site. And this is to be complemented by a mapping exercise so we can understand the spatial and the social characteristics of the village. Once we have a map of the village, the next step is the household census. The household census is meant to be a full enumeration of all the households in the study sites. The interview is to be conducted by, with an index respondent in a particular household, and the census questionnaire is organized along 9 major themes. These would be household and respondent identification, the household settlement history, household composition. For example, we'll be interested to record the living arrangement, relationship to head of household, education of the household members, the different livelihood strategies that each household member is primarily involved in, and so on. The fourth theme will be looking at the topic of migration and remittances. We'll also be interested in documenting housing ownership and assets, income, expenses and credit, a set of questions on aspirations and subjective economic well-being, and of course, questions on land and agricultural production, and finally, a set of questions on social capital, trust, and access to agricultural information. We have now completed a series of workshops and consultations with the full team to finalize the design of the questionnaire for the household census. And the next step is pretty much a pretest where we could make final adjustments for the data collection, and we should be pretty much ready to roll this out once it is safe to do so. Thank you.